SESI, uma iniciativa da CNI, Confederação Nacional da Indústria, apresenta...
The Australian education system has had significant changes. Over the last 5 years, we've introduced one Australian curriculum. However, each state and territory in Australia then takes the Australian curriculum outcomes and integrate the previous curriculum that they had. We have three major emphases. One is Indigenous education for Australia, and that is a really very, very important area where the outcomes for young Indigenous people is quite poor. The second one is sustainability of the environment, and the third one is ICT. So a term we use in Australia so that we're inclusive and there's not elitism, we try to say government and non-government schools. We have more government schools than non-government schools, and in non-government schools there are collectives of school systems, and the funding in Australia is quite unique in that those non-government schools do gain Commonwealth funding, that is federal funding, and they also gain local state funding. And there's a very historical event. Parents, for example, of government schools said, hey, how come these non-government schools are getting all this funding? And the public school systems couldn't really handle that amount of students. So we have a great deal of, I guess, non-government enrolment here in Australia compared to other places.
What I like here, it's a totally different environment. I've heard my friends' schools, they do things completely differently, and to be honest, it sounds really boring compared to what we do here. When we do here, we work with each other, with the teachers, we work as a class, we do creative activities where we make posters and everything. And it just makes the fact that we're learning and that we're growing up and gaining knowledge, it makes it more fun.
On the original classroom, it's the one student with 30 kids in their own thing, and having 4 teachers or 5 teachers with 100 students, it's better at learning because if one student doesn't know what to do or is falling behind, a teacher can go and help them with that. We get to learn from each other. To learn, you have to teach, and if we teach each other how to do the task in a better way, then we all learn.
From primary, it's an open learning space. And then when we get to year 5 and 6, we move into the high school area so we can get a feel of being in high school. And it's not such a big transition that we feel nervous because we are already with the students. It's just such a big environment, and it's a way of going into life, and it's being smoothly transported up.
And I think that project-based learning kind of drills into how every student is different and that everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, and then the teachers can cater to that. Being in an environment where you have so many kids around you to ask questions and to learn more, I feel like that was really benefiting for me, yeah.
The Catholic learning community of St John the 23rd is located in northwestern Sydney. As a Catholic learning community, we are very much a part of our local community and the people who surround. We are a part of our parish, the parish of John the 23rd, and as such, we have an early learning centre, we have a primary school, secondary school, so we are very much a part of our local community. Our buildings, we're on a site which is on about 25 hectares, which was it's a fairly big site. We needed the kids to work collaboratively, so we needed furniture that students could face each other, could move comfortably around in a group. They had white tables so the students could write on the tables. So we needed technology that would allow them to be connected to students around the world, to be connected to each other, to other schools. How we going, girls? You going all right? Yeah, what have we got here? All your lunches from my kindergarten kids. Yeah, you're my kindies. You're my kindies. Give us a smile, come over here. Okay, bye. And in 2005, we wanted to build a school which was full of life, which was open, which was an agile school, which encouraged students to learn in a contemporary fashion, 21st century skills. We have now developed into a school which has an inquiry-based focus, which is student-centred, which is agile, where learning is eclectic. So we have a range of different pedagogies at our school, from project-based learning to flipped to design. We have a range of different pedagogies.
Significant challenge was our students were passive learners. They, like most teenagers, they want to come in and be told what to do. And to challenge them to be okay and be comfortable with being uncertain about something, to challenge them to be open-minded, to explore where they could go, and really for them to be confident enough to talk about themselves. I'm learning, my success is this, my areas for development are this, and this is what I want to do to get there. So one challenge was our students, and the other challenge was teachers. We tend to think that we are the providers of all the knowledge to our students, and this model really challenges us to know every student, to be able to sit with them and point out to them areas that they need to work on at that moment in time. It really changes the dynamic of your role, and it's demanding and it's challenging, but it's also very rewarding to see students be successful and to know that your role is so pivotal in that success for them. So girls, what's your stories?
So once upon a time, there was a 15-year-old girl named Felicity whose parents died in a car crash and she was 4 years old. She was sent to an orphanage where she has been living for 11 years until one of the worst days of her life, Friday the 13th of March 2015.
So what's the moral of your story that you want the primary school to get out of it?
So I want them to be grateful for what they have. So she wasn't really grateful for what she had in the orphanage, and then she was sent to a horrible home.
Good job. The significant change in this school is that we are harnessing kids' curiosity and to ensure that we take our students beyond where they thought they could go. And the real way to measure that is if students are able to tell you, this is what I'm learning about, this is where I'm stuck, and this is what I need to do next. We've looked at developing skills around how does someone learn in a self-directed way, and moving forward towards the end of the year, we are looking at exploring students picking topics of interest and showcasing learning skills to learn about that topic.
We're actually now going to try and perform each other's graphic scores. So we're going to use the instruments that we've got around the room, and we're going to swap scores with other people in the class, and we're going to see how we go interpreting each other's scores.
Oh, yeah.
Using any sounds.
So, I got this. It's safe to say I've got this.
Okay.
Also a collaborative learner. They're not isolated. They know where they are at and they know where they're going, but they're also able to tell their peers that. And it changes from a place that gives students information that they write about to a community where students are brought here to learn skills that is going to help them beyond school. They're not going to remember the book they read, but they're going to remember how they learned to unpack the book, how they taught their peer about the book, how they connected with it, and then how they were able to showcase that to others. And that's what we're about, is what skills are they leaving us with, and how are those kids going to make an impact on the world when they leave us, because we want them to be using everything we taught them along the way to do that.
Students on these have the better stories and they're the better talkers.
Yep.
They've been encouraged to ask the students what they can do better.
Good, okay.
In our classrooms, you will see 180 students and 6 teachers. And when you go in there, it's an inquiry-based model of pedagogy. So when you go into that classroom, you focus the learning on what they know, and those students can advance and move forward. You then go to what they don't know. So you'll see masterclasses. You'll see students working on projects. And in the projects, they will be working collaboratively. And then you'll see them presenting. And it's in the presenting where the highest and the greatest learning takes place. It's at that higher level. So you'll see our students presenting a lot and providing that back to their teachers in an individual basis and getting formative feedback on that. They all know what they have to do, and they all have an individual pathway and an individual learning program in that lesson.
So in front of you, you've got an iPod set up. It's got a clip on it, a house in the 1950s in it. You'll notice, I highly doubt that your house has that colour scheme, and I highly doubt that your house is the same size, right? So 1950s Australia, not everyone who got married had their own house. A lot of families and extended families were sharing very, very small dwellings. So these rooms are going to be a lot smaller, okay, when you have a look, okay? So look for colour scheme, look for the size of it, and also look for the technology that we've talked about in other masterclasses in there, okay?
Is that a typewriter?
Is it? I don't know, you tell me. Look closer.
So it's about having the same plan, I suppose, teachers having that dialogue and also having that collaboration time. So you can't just assume that when you put adults or students together that they're all going to get along and have the same common understanding. So you have an agreement, so the kids all know what the expectations are in that learning space, where to find things, and the same in that teacher group as well. So they have these rules of collaboration, how they like to call each other on certain things, but also there's an opportunity of upskilling other teachers. But every day teachers are having professional conversations about students, about learning and where to next. And that's the most powerful thing, because you've got more adults talking about those students than just having one teacher knowing that class of 30. So kids could really then, you know, pick up on a teacher. I really like that way that teacher engaged with me and connected with me, so I might go and join that class.
All right, what I want you to do is, you've had a look at this criteria. I want you to come up with a goal now that will help. So you've got some areas of number 13, but you're moving towards it. So what's one area you want to work on? And I'm going to get you to write a goal on the card, and then we'll head over to the wall and we'll put it up there. Yeah, in English, our students, we developed a good writer's guide from kindy right through to year 10. And what that does is it identifies for students what a successful writer looks like at a midway point in the year and what it looks like at an endway point in the year. So each student with their teacher presents writing to the teacher in consultation with each other. They determine where that student is in their learning journey. So each student is given a right to goal to improve their writing, and then this is placed on our good writer's guide. And the students know where they are by the colour of the card. And so it's all about developing a growth mindset in students, that you're in charge of your learning, and that with clear goals and with clear vision, you can help to progress yourself to the next level.
I had friends that had gone here before and they were really enjoying everything here, the flipped learning, the open classrooms, all that sort of thing. Just looking at everything that this school had to offer from the subjects they had, which were more, I'd say, diverse from what my old school was. So it just gave me more opportunities to set myself up better for the future. and that's all I can really ask for when looking for a school, so we're better to come than one of the best schools in Sydney. We have the 4 houses, so Manning, Xavier, Roncalli and Derrick. When you first move to the school, you'll get put into a house, and these are used for homerooms, athletics carnivals, swimming carnivals, all different sporting events. It's basically like a competition sort of thing, or one teacher who's assigned to the 4 different houses. We have 8 college leaders for my grade. I think my role is just to be the voice for the students.
We've got a straw initiative I've got an email about.
Yeah, 1 straw takes over 109 years to decompose. So I was thinking we could try and either eliminate straws altogether or at least reduce the straws we give out in the canteen, because you know it's a lot of plastic and we should really cut down on our carbon footprint.
Yep.
So I was thinking we could raise awareness through like assemblies and posters and flyers. Yeah, so I think we could really try and go for that.
Well, I have to say I'm really enjoying that you guys are feeling really confident and empowered enough to keep coming up with ideas and keep bringing them to us. And hopefully you can see that we're engaging, because this is what we want. We want you guys to be driving the initiatives. It's your school, okay? So to have you coming up with all these ideas and then taking them to the community, I think that shows that, you know, the leadership team here, you're functioning really, really well, and it's quite, you know, it's a strength of our school. So how are you feeling about it?
I feel like as a group of leaders, this year especially, we're achieving a lot. From the World Cup night, as like once we found out the spring fair wouldn't be on, like we can say that we were part of organising it.
Yeah.
That's really good mark to leave on the school.
You're more than a part of organising it. You guys have conceived it and you're driving it. So we're just giving that little bit of assistance that you need with some of the formal parts of the night. But no, it's definitely your night. I hope you feel that.
Yeah, it's exciting.
At our school, every student counts. So we're trying to provide an environment in which all students, we have many students who go off to the best universities, but we've got to provide an opportunity for all students, those students who are going to be plumbers and builders and hairdressers and lawyers and teachers. So in providing that environment, we've had to change our curriculum. So we've now catering for all our students by offering vocational education.
The clamps, guys. So see how the clamps are coming up here? Yeah. And make sure, guys, remember that's cleared underneath, because you don't want to saw through the bench. What other safety equipment again?
Safety glasses and gearbox.
All right. Okay. All right. Perfect. That's good. A little bit zagging, but that's okay. All right, so remember, set it up again. I'll see how to set it up so you can get that right again. Grab your tools. If you don't understand, guys, just stay here and I'll clarify a bit more.
So in courses like construction and hospitality and finance and business and fitness, whilst also providing opportunities for our students to go to university whilst at school. We have multiple pathways that enable every student to be engaged in their learning.
Oh my gosh! You guys are getting married. Come in here. You guys are getting married. Wow! We should totally take a selfie to celebrate the occasion. Wow! Wow! I could be your priest or your bridesmaid here. Yeah, I'd be a great bridesmaid. Wait, would I look good in pink? I don't know.
I
I think drama is really important in the curriculum because I think it allows them to develop their confidence. So something that I really like about it is that it gets them up on stage, gets them talking to each other, communicating in a different way. So we do have a couple of kids at the moment who are sort of just like really starting to blossom and come out of their shell. So I think it's a nice way into public speaking and just feeling really comfortable talking in front of people, really. So I think it can offer that to everyone who does it. It teaches the kids to actually use their bodies as a way of communicating, teaches them to communicate with each other, how to problem solve, because you are always working together in a team. And then it also has really nice links to English, because obviously you're telling a story when you're performing. So I think it's valuable for anyone.
Okay, can the surgeons please find the coronary sinus, and the scribes need to write the coronary sinus needs to be located.
When you're cutting it, make sure you put it on the floor because you don't want to hit your hand. Just to that like black spot next to the straw. Yeah. Yeah, make sure you cut that bit at the top. My role as Derrick house leader is I look after all the students in my house from year 7 to 12. A student who's going to be like to help everyone, that sort of thing, going from if a teacher needs help or a student needs help, or yeah, I'm there to help.
Maybe instead, so you
I
can see
remember
like
my
two
first
there, so
dissection in
maybe
high
you
school,
want
we
to
did a
cut on
chicken.
that side, but don't do that yet.
What's this? This is a sheep's heart.
Especially through like our lap classes, we do a lot of things about mental health and issues surrounding that. And we actually get to go out and present to the primary students, and it's good because we get to teach them something that they can use, and then they can also look to older students for guidance and support. It's different because the high schools get to be with the primary school. The level of collaboration, especially between ages, is something different that I didn't get. So see how it's like got that?
I think we used to use move steering because that like had both B and C or whatever.
Oh, right,
So like
okay.
get rid of that.
Yeah, right, okay, that makes sense. Because that one only was moving one wheel.
And then where are yours plugged into?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then like you put it on for rotation.
I think it's meant to be straight, isn't it? Because otherwise it goes wonky.
With the freedom, it's really good because we can choose how we want to learn and how we want to present our learning to all the other students or the teachers, and that then shows our understanding of the topic, and the research has shown that we learn better through each other. So instead of the teacher standing up and teaching us and then we hand the assessment in to them, instead they tell us our driving question, so the question we need to answer through our presentation. Then we go out, do the research, teach each other in the group, and sometimes go to master classes where the teacher gives us a little bit of information, but then we teach that to the rest of our group and then put together a big presentation to then show the rest of the class.
So with the technology, we make sure that technology is integrated in all the subjects across the school. One of my roles is to work with the teachers to ensure that we have the right tools in place to make the learning as authentic as possible for the students, to give them a lot of options. And it is across the school. It's a BYOD program, meaning they all bring their own laptop or iPad in primary school. We introduce technology such as the VR headsets as a tool to support the learning in the classroom and support the teachers and students.
So what did you do?
We programmed it, but we just like kept trialing. We could tell you what the measurements were.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's have a look. So now you're going to put that in your portfolio. So what's your next challenge now?
Maybe do it, can I get it halfway?
We have robotics in our TAS classes. The students learn how to block code and use software to do that. From those students that have never done coding before, to those that have, we actually allow them to explore. And we give them challenges, but the students themselves push themselves to create their own challenges. But the students it's an easy way for students to learn and access the technology very quickly.
This is the part where it's got to be flexible. So remember later on, you know how you got your motor pod and your glider pod? So this is where you can't glue that in completely. So this is where, you know, the skills, do they? So this one here
Remove it while it's still warm.
So we'll still warm, so we'll take that out. During our lesson today, we're looking at aerodynamics. So what we're doing is building planes from foam board, and then once we've built an actual model of foam, or the plane from foam, we can actually start doing testing outside, looking at weight and lift, looking at our pattern in aerodynamics. So when we start to design our plane out of foam board, they do a CAD drawing. And from the CAD drawing, we look at fluid dynamics. So we look at how the plane flies through drag. So we're looking at a different variety of ways of how drag affects aerodynamics on our planes that we're doing as well. The purpose of our flight simulator is to get students ready to fly with a motor inside it, rather than when they first start with a motor inside it, it's just a crash straight away. So if they get used to the controls at the start, it's less likely that they'll have an accident at the start. So you're building confidence into the students straight away.
STEM is fairly new at the school. We are learning about different topics like science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and we're able to apply that through our projects. So like the aeroplanes, we're able to learn about all the different components that make an aeroplane fly. Therefore, we've learnt how to build an aeroplane, and then we can apply that in other subjects like maths, because we already understand the background information to it. So that's really good for the future jobs that we're all going to go through, because it's not going to be the same.
Alrighty, shall we begin? So today we're going to go over the concepts of scalar versus vector, and we're going to do it by doing an experiment with little remote control cars. In groups of 3, we'll go outside and you'll set yourself a little course, race the cars around, record the time for each waypoint, that being a change of direction. I then want you to measure the distance of the waypoints from each origin. Why are we doing that? Emily?
Yeah, we need to find the time so we can graph it.
We're going to graph this information. What is the graph going to give us? What sort of information?
It'll give us, if we're doing a distance versus time, it'll show how far we've travelled over time, and displacement is how far from the origin we are.
Okay, let's go. I love the innovation. I love the student-centred learning. It's a learning curve for the teachers to allow students to, once again, to be in the driver's seat and decide what they want to do in their learning, to move away from the chalk and talk of learning. When I went to school, I'd run to the class and my teacher would write furiously on the blackboard for an hour, and then I'd go home and actually do some of my own work. Them having the choice of what they're going to study in my classroom is quite an exciting thing. I don't tell them what they need to know anymore.
Yeah, so after school, I would like to do something in engineering. I'm kind of looking towards more of like aerospace engineering at the moment. I've picked all of my subjects around STEM. And for the course that I want to do, I have to do physics and mathematics. So I've already gotten those kind of sorted. So now I can do those and do the course I want to do. But also with Mr. Walsh, with the orbiter thing, because I'm really fascinated with space, I'd like to work at NASA type of thing. And although it might not particularly relate to a job, it's like background information that's all really important. And I like the fact that teachers, they take the time to teach you extra, like the passionate teachers, yeah.
Oh, you've nailed this. Straight over that direction. So if we go outside in a moment, Jupiter is just above the horizon, hopefully above the trees. There is our Milky Way. So Centaurus, a K, because the Greeks use K, don't they, rather than C. Rigel and Hader, they're the two pointers. Rigel being Alpha Centauri. And you can see there's a little Alpha circ written just above it. So we're focused on Jupiter here, haven't we? So I'd like you just to file through quickly, have a look and take note what you're seeing without telling anybody. So as we wander through, we're seeing something large in the centre and some smaller objects either side.
I really enjoy doing the extra stuff because at the moment in the curriculum, it's not really specifically centred around space engineering. It's more of like the fundamentals, so I'm really fascinated in looking deeper into that. So last year in May, I applied for a scholarship to attend NASA Space Camp through One Giant Leap Australia. And along with that, I'm also the inaugural student ambassador for the One Giant Leap Foundation Australia. So basically, I encourage kids my age to get involved in the STEM industry because I think it's really fantastic. Like, you know, it's the future type of thing. There's always going to be room for innovation.
I love being out in the playground with the kids. The students need to see their principal. I need to see our students. They need to have that connection. They need to have that relationship. Connectivity is really important. We talk about being connected around the world and to other schools, but the student needs to be connected with their peers and with what our college is about. Our students are our greatest advocates, and we regularly survey our students to ascertain their needs, their requirements. And we are flexible and we are agile and we will move to their needs. They feel that they're more engaged in their learning. They feel that they've got more say over where they're going. When you empower your students, when you give them autonomy over their learning, oh, it's rich. Brings life to me.
Listening up. So we're going on a guided tour. You are looking at the mortuary complex of King Joseph. The walls align to the 4 cardinal points, north, south, east and west, and had numerous gateways, but only one of them, this one that you're looking at now, allowed access to the complex. The rest of them were false doors. So, a little question. Does anyone know why ancient Egyptian pyramids were built? Yeah, what do you reckon?
To protect the body of the pharaohs when they died. Today, I learned about the virtual reality with my friends. We got to learn about the ancient Egypt, and we got to see inside some museums. I find it a lot more fun and engaging because we get to see what it is like inside the museums, and we don't need to look at the book, so we can just explore and find out new things in the virtual reality.
One of our friends, she went on to university and she studied archaeology, and she goes across there and helps on the digging. And she'd be about 20, 21 years old now, and she's been across at least once and worked there for weeks and weeks at a time doing the digging, finding little statues and things like that, and learning to read hieroglyphics. These classes are a new experiment. We believe it's unique to Australia. There was a feeling that the children do not engage very much with older people. Well, that is more or less what we're doing in the classes. They're using our knowledge and ask us what's going on. Certainly when we were young, we never spoke to adults. Now, they'll call you by your first name. That's the change.
So now we're gonna do a song. It's called Aboliu, so hopefully you guys remember the lyrics. So can everyone stand up and we'll sing the song together. Dear Jesus Christ, come to purify my soul. So we have youth group in St. Mark's every Friday lunch. So we do a bunch of different stuff. We do some songs, we do like sharings. So now you're in. Link on to someone. Link on to someone. Okay, now you're in.
Yes, we are first and foremost a Catholic school, but our Catholic school is open to all. And in our school, we have people from many, many different faiths. We can learn from others, and we're open to that dialogue. St. John the 23rd was a marvellous Pope. They called him the Good Pope, but I think as the Pope, he changed the church. He opened the church up. Following on from the footsteps of St. John the 23rd allows us to change education, to open education up, to recontextualise the vision for education in the 21st century.
So, going on from last lesson, Fernanda and Claire doing the sandwiches, which I've set up just at the back there. The hot food I've put here will be Whitney and Olivia, but I've also I'm going to ask you girls to do the punch. Be ready to take drink orders. So, but in this actual hour of preparation, you've got a little bit of flexibility. So what I'm going to get you to do is go around and help whoever seems to be falling behind. We've only got an hour to get all of this up. So we're at St Mark's Catholic College in the hospitality kitchen, where we are designing our own cafe to have on site so that the students can run a cafe. So they are responsible for all of the steps that lead to service in our service periods, which we are now running once a week. So when they go out into the workforce, they'll be well prepared to do the job that's required in the workforce, because I'll have the training on site where they get to practice what they're doing before they get out there and do it. So we give them lots of opportunities to have experience in different roles, so that when they do go for a job, they can put on their resume that they've got experience in the field.
It's a bit special. That's right. Cheers.
This afternoon we have a staff meeting, staff professional learning afternoon, and today we're sharing our experiences around project-based learning. So there'll be an activity, it'll be differentiated, and you'll see a variety of staff interacting and providing feedback to others.
Personal development in our profession is very important here, and it's encouraged. It's one of the priorities at this school. So we get opportunities to not only work together, because we do have experts on staff, and we get our staff to run workshops, staff development days, but we also get experts in. We send staff to professional development days, and even quite recently, we've done some school visits. So I was part of a group who went to San Francisco, and we visited a number of schools that basically did mainly project-based learning. We're actually doing that here, and we just wanted to see how we're going and also what other improvements we can make. And that's valuable learning that we bring back to staff, and then we workshop and share that with our teams.
We try to encourage them to go and research symptoms of diseases. We don't tell them which ones to go and research. And then I've come up with these patient files, there's 6 of them. So when the kids go and attend their specialist clinics, and we're role-playing here, we are medical professionals and they are our registrars, and they come to our clinic. This particular one is a 4-year-old boy. We don't tell them that this is asthma, but through the information that we give them and the functioning of the healthy system and their research, they need to come to that conclusion that this is asthma.
How would they study these diseases?
Traditionally, you would literally tell them to go and do research, symptoms, cause, blah, blah, blah. You'd give them a list, they'd go online and they'd go to probably the asthma website and go and just pretty much find the information, regurgitate it back to you.
But you do it in the opposite way. You tell them the disease, you tell them the outcome, and then have to find the symptoms of it. But now you're giving them the symptoms, they're going to make the conclusion.
It's always a challenge when we get new teachers into our school. So it is vital that we retrain them and train them up to the way we would like things to be done. When we talk about project-based learning, if we talk about flipped learning, if we talk about design thinking, that is the way that will ensure that our school is sustainable.
So the next step I need you to do is I want you to look at your own essay, I want you to read it, and I want you to mark it. So what would you give it based on what you think the A looks like? Is it an A? Is it a B+? Is it B? Give yourself a grade. And then I want you to write down for a buddy the areas you think you need to work on. So can you look at my use of evidence to see if that's something that they think they agree or disagree with? So point them in the direction of what you want the feedback on, okay? We know that our students learn best when they are able to self-reflect and identify where they are at. So we build evaluation into to nearly everything that we do, and students will often, before they complete a task, evaluate where they're at using a rubric and criteria. We also encourage peers to be part of that process. So students will often pose questions. I'm wondering if I am, using appropriate sentences, and the peer then knows what to look for the student. So the student's identifying what they feel may be gaps, and their peer is able to identify those gaps for them.
I focused on one area of the book rather than looking at the text holistically. So rather than just focusing on a really specific part, if I draw other ideas from other parts of the text, I'll be able to bring those elements together to make a stronger argument.
Got some feedback for Kelly's body paragraph.
Well, it shows that she's analysed the entire text as a whole and drawn the core message from the text and had that insightful look at it to be able to see all the different elements that lay on top of the core message that's been expressed, which she could do, but she's only looked in depth at one chapter. So you know that she has the understanding, it's just not expressed through all the evidence from different aspects of the text.
And then lastly, that's when the teacher input comes in to ensure that the students are accurate in their representation of themselves and that the peer is effective in identifying key areas. And then we will showcase a peer who's an effective evaluator to other students. And the students value the peer feedback often more than the teacher feedback. And when a student can efficiently identify areas of strength and weakness in themselves, and they can do that to a peer, that is a level of metacognition that supersedes anything a teacher would be able to do for the student.
Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Now, we've got our student-led conferences coming up. What do you think works well with the student conferences?
I think it's more hearing from the kids.
Yes.
You get to hear from the children's perspective,
yes,
how they're learning and how they're coping with it all, and enjoying it, yes, more so than just hearing what the teacher has to say.
Yes.
It's also good that they get to say something as well, and I think we get a chance to ask questions and just to see how it's travelling and if they need any extra help from the home.
And our parents play a significant role in our community. They are engaged in the classrooms, they are engaged outside of the classrooms. We value and respect their contribution to our school. We expect that they contribute and are a part of their child's learning.
A school bag app is a great app that we have on our mobile phones, and with that I actually know exactly what's going on with school. So when it comes to parent-teacher meetings, fundraising activities, athletics carnivals, swimming carnivals, if I need to communicate with a coordinator or a supervisor, I can send them a quick email, leave a text. Everything is done online these days. So really, I don't really have to come up to the school at all unless I want to have a face-to-face interview with somebody.
Thank you very much for coming and supporting our students. The aim of this recital is to provide an opportunity for all of the students in the Year 11 class to perform and have the opportunity to deliver a public performance. And in that sense, it's also a chance to provide an opportunity for the students to continue their growth in performance.
Hi, I'm Leanne Takardin, and I'm going to be playing Minuet 1 by Mozart.
The schools helped me to prepare for my future with, I think, working collaboratively in groups, because once you get out into, for say, the real world, you're never going to have a job where it's just you. You're going to have co-workers no matter where you go, or they can just achieve something that may be like a dream to them, sort of thing. So the school's just preparing me in a variety of different ways that I see not a lot of places can.
My goal is to develop a school which is a school for every student. That's my aim. To be able to, I can sit back at the end of the day and say that I am striving to be the best school for that student, for that student, for that student. Whether they're going to university, whether they're going into a trade, whether they've got learning difficulties or gifted and talented. I want to be a school for every student.
So I got to experience all the different changes around this school. So I saw the science labs being built, I saw the hall being built, everything around this school I saw being built. I became really excited to come to this high school and learn. And we have so many different facilities and so many different programs that we offer where my strengths lie, and I can use that to the best of my ability, and I can learn and grow more as a person and develop my passions. So when I go out into the workforce, I have that knowledge and that passion still driving me.
Uma parceria SESI, uma iniciativa da CNI, Confederação Nacional da Indústria.